New Syllabus Mathematics Book 1 Updated 7th Edition Chapter number 2 Integers and Order of Operations. Exercise 2b, question number 1. Find the value of each of the following. The first part of the question is 6 plus negative 2. We are adding two integers with positive and negative signs. The first integer 6 is positive and the second integer negative 2 is negative. Since we are adding two integers with unlike signs, let's take their absolute values, 6 and 2, and then subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger. The result takes the sign of the integer with the larger absolute value, which in this case is positive 4. Here, positive 6 is the larger absolute value and negative 2 is the smaller absolute value. Subtracting 2 from positive 6 results in positive 4. As positive 6 is larger than negative 2, therefore, the result, positive 4, gets the sign of integer positive 6. Moving on to number 2, we have negative 5 plus 8. In this case, the larger absolute value is positive 8, and the smaller absolute value is negative 5. Since both integers have unlike signs, therefore, I will subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger absolute value. The result is positive 3 because the larger absolute value has a positive sign. Moving on to number 3, we have 4 plus negative 10. We are adding two integers with positive and negative signs. The first integer 4 is a positive integer and the second integer negative 10 is a negative integer. Since we are adding two integers with unlike signs, so let's take their absolute values 4 and 10 and then subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger. The result will have the sign of the integer with the larger absolute value, which in this case is negative. Moving on to number 4, we have negative 1 plus negative 7. We are adding two integers, negative 1 and negative 7. Adding two numbers, negative 1 and negative 7, results in negative 8 because adding two negative numbers gives a more negative number. Alternatively, you can multiply the positive sign with the negative 7, which results in negative 7. Then negative 1, negative 7 gives us negative 8. Moving on to number 5, we have 9 plus negative 3. In this case, we are adding a positive 9 and a negative 3. If we multiply the positive sign by the negative 3, we get negative 3. And now positive 9 and negative 3 results in positive 6. Since positive 9 is greater than negative 3, therefore the result will be positive 6. And if we have negative 9 and positive 3, then the result will be negative 6. Moving on to number 6, we have negative 11 plus negative 5. Again, we are adding two negative numbers. So if we multiply the positive sign by the negative 5, we get negative 5. Next, negative 11 and negative 5 result in negative 16. Both the integers have the same sign, that is, a negative sign. So just add them and the result will have a negative sign. Moving on to number 7, we have negative 10 plus 2. Two numbers with unlike signs. Here, a negative 10 is less than positive 2, but the absolute value of 10 is definitely greater than the absolute value of 2. Therefore, negative 10 plus 2 results in negative 8. Moving on to number 8, we have 1 plus negative 8. Multiply the positive sign with the negative 8, which gives us negative 8. And then positive 1 and negative 8 results in negative 7. Question number 2. Evaluate each of the following. The first part is negative of negative 7. The two negative signs cancel out, so negative of negative 7 becomes positive 7. It's like saying, what is the opposite of negative 7? The answer is positive 7. The second part is 5 negative of negative 3. We know that two negative together turn into a positive sign. Therefore, 5 negative of negative 3 becomes 5 positive 3, which is equal to positive 8. The third part is negative 4, negative 7. As both numbers have a negative sign, therefore negative 4, negative 7 results in negative 11. Remember, when we subtract a number from a negative number, we move further into the negatives. The fourth part is a negative 8, negative of negative 2. As negative of negative is positive, therefore negative 8, positive 2 results in negative 6. The fifth part is negative 1, negative of negative 10. Since the negative of a negative is positive, therefore negative 1, positive 10 results in positive 9. The sixth part is 6 minus 9. The difference between positive 6 and negative 9 is negative 3. Here, negative 9 is less than positive 6, but the absolute value of 9 is definitely greater than the absolute value of 6. Therefore, positive 6 minus 9 results in minus 3. The seventh part is negative 8, negative 3. Since both numbers have a negative sign, therefore negative 8, negative 3 results in negative 11. The eighth part is 2 negative of negative 7. Since the negative of a negative is positive, therefore 2 plus 7 results in 9.